Hey guys, Dave here from Underdark, for Nerds, by Nerds, hanging out with the full contingent today.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
Today we are going to do a terrible terrain on the Underdark city of OutKast, which actually came about in one of our previous videos where we did a Dungeons & Dragons Monsters Fomorians. So we were talking about it, and we're like, the Fomorians need something to threaten. And then Ted came up with the idea: what if they had this city? What if they had this city to threaten called OutKast?
Yeah, it was
not an early 2000s hip hop act.
No, it was totally, inspired by the moment.
I totally spelled it that way.
Yeah, did you really with the K?
It's supposed
Everybody
to be
loves that song.
It's supposed to be a city where like all of the races that dwell in the Underdark are accepted. They're thrown. You have to look at it as like they're thrown out of wherever they were. They're not evil enough for men's Oberons, and they're not cruel enough to live in the city of the Duergar. They're not nice enough to live with us for Niblin. Whatever else. Kobolds, lizard folk. Goblins. Everywhere else, everyone is really accepted at OutKast.
Even humans, because they're everywhere.
Because they're everywhere. But it's not the goody two shoes, of the Sverdimblins or the Flumps. They're not evil like, the Drow or the Duergar. They're kind of middle of the road. Everyone's accepted. You gotta watch your own back, because you never know who else is gonna be there or who's sneaking in from one of the other cities.
Oh, this would be a perfect place. Remember the idea I had for a bar that was completely staffed by like imps?
Mm-hmm.
So like they were the bar wait staff. Yeah, it would totally, because the idea was like the Pact of the Chains Warlock like running this establishment.
Oh yeah,
and bringing other lower planes denizens to like be a servitor to him type of deal.
That could absolutely work.
I'm picturing like a Hades from the Disney Hercules type of thing, Warlock character.
So I kind of want it to be a port city,
right,
in an Underdark ocean. Now, I'm totally kind of ripping this off from, I believe Green Ronin does Skullport,
right,
and it's kind of like the similar thing. But I just like the idea. Like, to me, port cities are just more fun,
right?
So you need you can have swashbucklers if you have a port city.
That's true.
No water, no swashbuckling.
Yeah.
There's like a rule or something. I'm sure of it.
They buckle their swashes so they don't make any noise.
Yeah, but then it also there's other reasons for doing it as well. One being controlling a waterway is a resource,
right?
Mm-hmm. So that gives them, and it's going to give them access and be able to reach further, because OutKast is probably also a very big trade city, because it is neutral grounds.
Yeah, well, commerce to happen, you need stability. Right. So a very strong, like, I would almost say like lawful neutral-ish, because you need things to be functional, but like that gets skirted by the criminal elements and the darker elements, of course. But
so I had an idea, right?
Okay,
and it goes along with what you just said. Like, the founders of OutKast is actually a clan of Duergar.
Okay.
For whatever reason, they either leave, they're the last, whatever, of another Duergar civilization, society, and what they decide is, maybe their clan were merchants. So it starts as kind of like an outpost, and they just kind of do what they've always done, and that's merchant. They want to sell things, they want to buy things, they want to trade things. And one of the things you need for that, like you said, you need stability. So from that, it becomes a haven for people that are either escaping persecution, or maybe they did something. So it's definitely going to be the thieves' den kind of feel to it as well.
So like, what if there's like above everything else, coin spends. Like, you can literally buy your way out of anything, or get into anything with coin. Like,
well, yeah, that would absolutely work, and it works with like the premise of a merchant house founding and controlling the city. And then in addition to that, like, I see it as like I
kind of, so go ahead with your thought, but I have another one I'm going to come back to.
I see like the justicing system there being swift and brutal.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't have enough coin.
Right.
Yeah, the coin spends
you can always pay the fine.
Could be the motto, coin spends. But I'm thinking, the idea I had is, what if they themselves were like branded as outcasts from the dwarf? So like they have branded on them the symbols for outcasts in like under Dwarven or whatever the Duergar language is. Is it just Dwarven?
Yeah.
Okay, so like they're branded with that, and then they decide to make that symbol like the sigil of the city
And their house.
and their house and this
Yeah.
and that. Like, so I don't know what makes a group of merchant dwarves get outcast from their clan, but I could see that like, well, we're gonna own this brand.
They
Ba-dum-ching.
Yeah.
they considered that the trade was more important than the loyalty to the house. They went for coin as
Or
opposed-
the community or whatever.
They sided on the coin. They went.
Or what if they had brokered a deal and like they wanted to follow the deal through, but their clan didn't approve, but they're like, well, coin spends.
Mm-hmm.
Like they like we're honoring the deal that they did. And they were outcast for not betraying, basically giving it that lawful neutral bent. Like, so they had a higher mark of honor than like the typical Dugar might have, and that's what caused them to be exiled. Well, it's like not because they're super good-hearted or anything, but because they struck a bargain, and I'll be
That's
damned
their
if we're
thing,
gonna
they
break.
keep it, yeah.
I'll be damned if we're gonna break this contract.
I like that. I mean, that works for me.
So these group of dwarves, they settled in on this spot. Now they've got the defensible ability of the waterway, and they've got the ability to deal with that.
I actually had an idea for the actual physicality of the city itself. It's actually in the water.
Okay.
And it's basically a stalagmite, a giant stalagmite jutting up out of the water that they basically built a city into.
Okay.
So wait, that's the whole thing is going to be in that structure?
Yeah. And they could actually build it to outside of it, and they probably have.
I think they'd have a lot of floating, like walkways and other things.
Almost like
on the
it's
water.
like almost like an anthill.
Right.
Okay.
Is what I've
But an anthill with things like
with excavated and-
with like docks coming off at the waterways. Up above it, you've got different landings. So you've got this.
So I see multiple stalagmites with different they create drawbridges between and stuff.
That
So it's
could be
like almost like spokes, so like spiraling off of or whatever. So you have structures that they've just straight up built, and then there's things that they've built into the stalagmites and tights. If there's big enough ones that they found are structurally sound coming, so you have like all these bridges coming off of them.
I don't want it to be too much like Menzoberranzan, which that's all like houses built out
But
of
this is in the water, man.
It's totally in the
different.
So
Totally
here's the
original.
idea I had. Like one giant and enormous stalagmite, right? So what if 3/4 of the way up, it's actually completely hollowed out, except for like these pillars and spires that kind of like encompass the outer part of it, and one central column, and then above that is like the completion of the stalagmite, right? Which is actually like the where the ruling caste live.
Mm-hmm.
And but so the that space in between, there's actually a city that is sprung up, like it's more of a traditional city. But then you'd have layer upon layer underneath.
One of the spires, because it's dwarves, has to have been carved, squat and meticulously carved to look like a stack of coins.
Well, they could all do something along those lines.
So
Yeah.
that's my insert. I gotta see that, because I think that would totally fit.
Pillars
these
of
guys.
coins, pillars of gems.
And each one could be a different thing, and each one representing a different
Hey,
portion.
so would they revere a antithetical aspect of the Beggar King?
Yeah, I think that would definitely work.
Sort of like that. Well, I mean, we talked about him being
Was there
his own
someone
thing.
that wasn't like Gilda or somebody with the merchant?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we
Gilda
have-
would be
we have
good.
Gilda
I feel like
too.
that.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to want to give money away.
Well, I said the opposite of
Yeah.
like hoarding, the
Yeah.
darker aspects of, so. Well, yeah, we could do something with Gilda as far as that goes too.
So maybe both of them have a place here.
Well, I'm sure many of the gods do. So now I also see like maybe, not too far away, a kingdom of Myconids
Yes.
that they've established an alliance with.
Or they eat them. fungus farming.
Well, maybe.
maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Depends what you can get away with. It's a delicacy.
Now, in
Black
order to
market
make
for making it live.
in order to make OutKast truly successful, beyond the location to be able to be a free trading city, because like Dorgar don't want to freely enter a Drow city and vice versa. Here anyone can come in and trade at OutKast. There should also be something else about it that gems, a vein of ore, something that they're close to that they can gain access to that gives them their own market.
I think they should do underwater mining for something. I don't really know what.
What do you guys think?
Underwater mining.
Yeah.
Dwarves and scuba gear.
So
Heck yeah. And it could just simply be a really rich deposit of whatever ore they make their armor out of, or whatever ore they make for selling.
Could totally be like this is where a unique metal of Chimes of Discordia exists.
yeah, I mean, or just a vein in general. Yeah, there could just be a vein.
I was just going to go with seafood. They got really good seafood.
Yeah.
They do sushi and sashimi.
Well, maybe along the lines of your idea of mining, underwater mining. What if instead of mine, maybe they what if they harvest oysters and clams for the pearls?
That could be. I mean, that could be another thing. But there could be a deposit not too far away of minerals that they're after.
Well, there's dwarves. They're
Yeah.
dwarves. They're always going to mine for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and rather than the like traditional mining with a pick, there's this like what's called bog iron, which is where a whole bunch of rust basically clumps together and forms like this rock-looking stuff, and it's really
You're
really
just
high.
making shit up, dude.
No, I'm not. Seriously not. I think it's a fantasy game, I know, but it can have a little reality.
So
in it.
I mean, but how was that common practice to do that, like in a medieval era thing to get?
Well, if you had a
iron?
bog that had plenty of,
But people understood to do it, and
like
then-
a few hundred years ago, I think people were doing it.
a few hundred.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but so I mean, like
Don't
like,
time date me on the scimitar and stuff, man. No.
Well, and there
dwarves
is
do have superior metallurgy.
There's dwarves.
They
They
do.
probably have alchemists, so they might.
Well, I
figure
mean,
that
they
stuff
could
out.
have like sort of like trawlers that like as some vessels might trawl for shrimp, that they have it for this bog iron that like they have a trawler.
Or well, it is a fantasy game. Why not make it? Why not make a fantasy metal or element that they do the same thing? Take that real world principle and apply it to something else.
Yeah, it just maybe it congeals and pools down at certain parts in the lake, and
All right, so
they've harvested all the stuff that's in the little like 5-foot ponds that are off of this ocean, but they figured out that they can go further down and underwater and get
all right,
stuff.
so now I'm gonna go a little bit crazier. Since they're going under the water looking for stuff, are we willing to accept that these guys have made little miniature submarines? Or are they totally...
I think
that feels more
like-
gnomish.
I feel like more like one of those, I don't know, what's that capsule that they send down? The bells? The diving bells.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that would probably be the way they get down to that area.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking that they'd have vessels that they scrape the bottom and like haul up, and
Like a
then look
dredger?
through it.
A
Yeah,
dredging
like
machine?
like the way people get shrimp or whatever. That's scrape a thing.
Maybe they
claw.
get them both at once.
Yeah.
A claw. Maybe they use the diving bell to scout certain areas, and then they'll come down, rather than just blindly pick stuff off of the ocean.
Although I could see like dwarves just tend to be industrialists anyway, and then then you take something like a gray dwarf who is far less moral than their surface kin. They're not really going to be worrying about environmental impacts, and they're not going to really care. They're just going to do the quickest, most efficient thing, and take it all.
Right. Yeah, so they're gonna and they're gonna take it all, but they're gonna use it all. So like when they're pulling the the clams out for the pearls, the shells go to one side for one purpose. The meat.
I don't think see dwarves as being very caring about environmental impact, like being that preserving sort of.
Well, no,
that's what he's saying.
and I'm saying the gray dwarves are even less so.
No, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they might not even care to like sort things through. Like, oh,
No,
this is the thing I need. whatever.
No. Like I see them like not caring about saving the environment, but exploiting every single resource. So shells, they have a purpose for something. Sell it to an artist to make something because that's here in the city. Take the meat out of the clam. That's going to be food. Take the pearl. That's got straight up value. If there's destroyed metal, well, that's gonna go to the smithies. So everything gets used. Not because they care about
Hugging
conserving resources or hugging trees. Everything has value.
And what about instead of having them have like all this tech, what if they employ slash and or enslave either aquatic elves or mer people to go and do that? Like do the work.
Import
Labor-
aquatic slaves.
Yeah, labor camps basically. Aquatic labor camps.
I
Well,
don't
are
see
into slavery, right? They're
Yeah,
outside.
to bring the amorality into play.
I don't see OutKast as having slaves.
They're Duergar.
I totally see it as having slaves.
It's
Okay.
Duergar.
What do you say, Nate?
It's Duergar, so
It's the Underdark.
yeah, it's
I
Underdark.
see-
I
I see-
feel like they're gonna do it. I think the problem is
Feel
that
like you can't stop them.
I feel like it wouldn't. The difficulty would be you can't have it be in the idea that people are going to just be able to be captured and put into some kind of.
But it
What-
could
what
be
is- what
a
is the-
fine for breaking a law that you can't pay your way out of.
What about as
that
opposed
could
to
be one of the
slave,
ways.
like indentured servitude? So anyone that's quote unquote a slave, has the ability to work themselves out of it.
Well, I mean, in real life, like people have been sold into slavery on debt, like or their own family had sold them into slavery. Like it's a thing that has happened.
Yeah, becoming
because
a serf
they can't
of a
afford-
lord because you can't afford to feed your family.
Right. That's a thing that happens.
I just think with this place, I mean, if you have slavery as a common thing that marks it, further down the evil chain, and it's less in the neutral bent.
I think that is neutral. It's just not good.
I like the contractual obligation. Like if you can't pay your debt, it can be in the contract that you pay it through work
And
Which
at
is more
at a certain rate, at a certain wage for a certain amount of time.
But then they dock your room and board.
which
and-
is more
well, yeah.
which is more indentured servitude than slavery.
yeah. Well, I mean
So-
that they write it
It
up.
still
like
it
that,
still
but
becomes
you
very
might-
lawful evil
you
because
might
you've
just
just
be-
exploited somebody
yeah,
into being
Yeah,
a slave
someone
for 20
needs
years.
something, and you're like, well, this guy probably can't pay it, so I'm going to get him.
Or you broke a tool during the job. Well, I'm gonna
Yo,
sell this to you at a markup, and now you owe me this. Now you're another 5 years because you broke that pickaxe. So it's basically very lawful evil. You've contractually made somebody a slave for a very long time.
so, what if they have really strict laws about how you
become one?
How you can become one and how you treat your slaves? Like it's like PETA for people.
Yeah, okay. If there's a a lawful way in and a lawful way out, then I'm
And then the neutral part is there's kind of a lot of wiggle room.
yeah.
So but it does always come back to, kind of like the motto of the city. Coin spends. So if you can figure out that part, you can pretty much get out of anything, including slavery or indentured servitude.
Right, like okay, well, we have proof that you've mistreated your slave. Either you have to let them free or pay a fine, or
Or they get confiscated. They probably get confiscated.
it's like, oh, well,
Like you
there's
have,
the
to
money.
you have to buy them back.
Yeah. It just and it depends too who's like doing what. So there's always going to be like that immoral grays in that
Gray dwarf area.
pretty much.
It's very gray, very bleak.
The city might be known for things like fighting pits. I don't see like full out gladiatorial arenas, but it's probably a place where you can go and duke it
Good
out for
black
cash.
markets.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially if you're like, hey, you win 3 times, then I'll let you go. Like you'll pay off your however many years worth of
Yeah.
debt.
Although I feel like the black market is almost the regular market.
Right. Like in most communities, it would be the
Like
black market.
I wouldn't see anything.
It's like pay
as,
tariffs. What?
Anything. I don't see as anything as against the law to sell, as long as you legally.
It's basically
own
like a libertarian utopia because like legalized drug prostitution, like all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But like we have a very high threshold or watermark for like abiding the laws that we actually do have on the books.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Brutally so.
brutally so.
Yeah. So, and then I guess we talked about this in another video. Like maybe one of the major threats to the city is the Fomorians.
Right. And it's it's kind of the fact that it is across the water that has actually saved OutKast from being just utterly destroyed.
And
because they can't throw rocks.
Yeah, because they can't throw rocks. I was about to say, you ninja'd me. And then not too far off, I would love to see like a Myconid kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. And the Myconid kingdom, they probably
would it be a mushroom kingdom?
It would be a mushroom kingdom.
The princess is not here.
The princess is somewhere else.
Yeah, in another castle.
But but maybe the Fomorians, they go out of their way to find the Myconids, because maybe they are a delicacy to them.
Yeah. Well, and then some of them are pretty trippy. Like the ones that have poison spores, give them a nice little.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. If you read the Myconids entry, they're pretty crazy with that stuff. One of their attacks is they make you high.
Yeah. They gotta attack me. Just. Yeah.
But I just keep my little Myconid in a box and shake.
Well, no, you put them in a sack and then you go
huffing Myconids.
You huff Myconids. That's what the giants do. You often find in the pouch of a giant is a Myconid. Yeah. Because they go all Charlie Day on it.
They just shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I may eat you today.
Yeah.
And they spew spores.
Yeah.
So I can see them being on a flank of the giants. Basically inroad towards the OutKast city. So that's kind of they try and harvest, but also can't they make you docile as well? So there's a certain point where if the giants tried to go through their city area, maybe they don't fit, or perhaps it's just simply that they just start hanging out and going, oh yeah, what were we doing today?
Because they're so concentrated.
Yeah, that's it's just walking through.
Yeah,
not
I feel
really
like
possible.
It's a combination of a lot of areas that they can't get into and their spore defenses. Mm-hmm. So and
the giants' laziness not to carve new tunnels.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's that too.
Slaves get to work.
And we're so going to eat some Myconids for dinner tonight. Nice mushroom soup. So I think that's a good basis for OutKast. So I guess it's a terrible terrain, so we haven't really delved into the hazards. We kind of just laid out, what OutKast is.
Becoming a slave. That's a huge hazard.
Breaking a law and not paying a fine.
Yeah, you've got the laws, which as we've said are brutal and efficient. I would actually see the whoever the quote unquote police, they would actually have a book of the laws on them, so that it's all right, you committed this law. They turn to the page. This is what you did.
Templars, basically.
Here is the penalty. You cough up X coin, or you're getting this punishment.
Well, maybe there's the elite guardsman that's kind of like that, and then he's got his cronies.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got that situation. You've clearly got the Myconids, which are a bit of a they're a boon and a bane at the same time, because while you're a neutral city, you never know what the Myconids are going to do. There's sometimes that they'll trade, sometimes they'll let you pass through, other times they're just going to attack whoever's around them because
fall asleep in a field of poppies.
You're not a Myconid.
Well, maybe Myconids are very superstitious, and depending on what the augurs are saying, they act kind of almost randomly. And
you've got the Fomorians that are a clear threat, but then you've got every other thing that's going to be in the Underdark.
An Underdark Sea. There's totally some things that are going to be nasty.
That'd be pretty cool to have some kind of monstrous creature that lives near the city, that offers protection and eats people on occasion as well. But
politics. I see politics being a big
thing.
Dude,
factionalism would be huge in this place. Yeah,
sure. You're definitely going to encounter your typical denizens of the Underdark, like your Hookars, Drow, Dorogar. They're all going to be in the area.
Could have Aboleth down there.
Yeah.
People who aren't playing by the rules.
All the thieves guilds.
Yeah. They get away with.
I mean, I see this as almost being like a subterranean Lankmar.
Yeah, that's actually a really good description. I like that. A little Lankmore by the Undersea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but to have that sort of like that by our modern standards immorality to it, the sort of like sword and sorcery sort of city.
Right.
Now, it's a port, but does a port really go like who is it trading with from that?
Well,
is it
coming
actually,
in.
Is it actually going across this expanse of water, or is it
what do you
more
say,
of a defense?
What do you say is if this waterway actually can get to the outside?
It can reach the surface,
and it trades with surface dwellers as well.
That's kind of like the point, but it's kind of a perilous journey.
Right.
Well, I mean, most Underdark denizens who are going to trade with the outside usually bring their goods to OutKast because it's afforded neutral ground, and most people would be iffy about venturing all the way to like a drow city or whatever. Well, and actually too, there's also the thing of how we're doing drow that we have to kind of consider, or maybe that's just one faction of them. But so yeah, and then the surface dwellers, we're gonna want to come to OutKast to get those goods from the other kingdoms, the Dorgar and this and that. So they're kind of a middleman,
Right.
too, in a way.
Or maybe we'll fill the drow niche with something else horrible.
Yeah, something else awful. Yeah.
How do you get to the surface? Can you get to the surface in a boat? Is it like there's a stream that just goes into a mountain, and then eventually it will twist and turn and get you to...
It's like a log flume all the way out.
Yeah, but how do you get up a log flume? Magic. Ropes and pulleys?
Yeah, you have to row really hard. No,
Like
it's...
they've got a salmon shaped...
what I
submarine.
see is that, basically there is a large waterway. There's a large, vast tunnel, or, cavern that runs straight to the sea eventually. Yeah, it might be several days.
So there's going to be pirates around there, too.
Oh, yeah, pirates.
Definitely got to have subterranean pirates.
Well, you can't have a port city without pirates.
And swashbucklers.
Well, yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand. I mean, pirates are swashbucklers. So.
This might be the perfect place for the ship, the pirate ship that's crewed by Aarakocras.
The Pelican.
I wouldn't see them being, in a subterranean situation.
The whole flying thing and the wingspans and...
Yeah, but it's a vast cavern. There's enough room.
Yeah,
If you can sail ships.
Aarakocra are kind of iffy about enclosed spaces.
Yeah.
Remember
No
the
matter
dark
how
side.
large the enclosed
I mean,
space
they're not Avarials, but they.
Well, maybe they hang out at the outside.
Oh, well, I mean, one of the downsides in Dark Sun in past editions, they were claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic,
Yeah, they
yeah.
had all kinds of negatives if they didn't have open sky. So, yeah, but that's past editions.
That's different. That's when they didn't have. That's when they had wing hands.
They have to have wing hands. If I'm running it, it's definitely gonna magically change over, and they have wing hands. So.
I'm cool with the Hawkman kind of look.
I actually think they look much cooler with the Hawkmen as opposed to that.
That's bullshit. Vulture Men.
I actually like both looks, but to me, the Aarakocra had the wing hands. Is
You know what? I feel like the older renditions, like the 3rd edition rendition of Kenku, were the Falcon Men sort of thing.
Except they didn't have wings.
Yeah, I don't think they ever had the wings.
Kenku lost their wings.
Yeah. Well, no, they kind of underwent a change, and then they became Ravenish at one point. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I think you're thinking of something else.
But yeah,
But does it belong in OutKast? It's the real
They
question.
could. Kenku do.
Yeah, the Kenku.
Oh yeah, Kenku, absolutely.
Yeah.
But maybe not the Aarakocra. So, I don't know. I think that's a good starting point. You guys, in the comments below, let us know what you think. What should people find in OutKast? While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share.
You can patronize us in a way that we like over on Patreon.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
Also join the conversation over on Reddit.
And for the love of God, don't forget the Nerdarchy, the store.
That's right.
So until next time, stay nerdy.